If you guys are still playing FC24 and you want some cheap coins, make sure you check out MMOEXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you do use my code REMA, it will give you a lovely 5% discount off your order. So what's up guys, it's Ash here and welcome back to a brand new video. We're recording this one a little bit earlier because we've got the Euros on later on, England, my country of course, playing at 5 PM my time. So honestly, I'm recording this now because if we lose that game, I'm not going to want to record. I'm just going to want to sit in a corner. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully it goes well. By the time you see this, the game might have already happened. I don't know, but I'm hoping for the best. You know, I'm not an idiot. I'm not deluded. I don't think England are great by any means. This is just me wanting my country to win. But yeah, hopefully it goes well, man. I'm on my knees for it. And yeah, sorry about that. Today we have some 4-3-2-1 custom tactics and player instructions. The most meta formation in this game by far. It's the one you'll see most of the time in FUT Champs or in Elite Rivals because it just fits the meta of the game very well. So we're going to go through some tactics and instructions and whatever, but just before we get started guys, please be sure to drop this video a thumbs up. It does really help me out with the algorithm. And yeah, with all that aside guys, let's get right into the video. I hope you enjoy. Okay then guys, so a few tweaks to this set of tactics this week, to be honest. It's worked quite well. We'll go through it when we get to the parts, but the defensive style remains the same guys. We have it unbalanced. I say this a lot, gives you the best control over your defense. So, you know, when you want to be aggressive and press your opponent, you can definitely do that. And then when you want to drop off and maybe be that bit more passive, you can also do that. So I love the control that balance gives us. However, if you want to use pressure tactics like press after possession loss or constant pressure, then that's up to you. I don't advise it, but you can do it. Now for the defensive width, this was one of the things that's changed a lot in the past couple of weeks. So what I used to do is I'd always have this on like 45. I'd say this was like my sweet spot. So we've actually lowered this by 10 to 35. Now the reason I've done this is because even though 45 gives you a nice narrow and compact defense to help block out all those attacks through the middle, I noticed there was a lot of gaps still and my opponent was still just being able to play these through balls through these little gaps that were left. So we've lowered it even more to cover in that space even more, leave less gaps, and we still have decent coverage of the wider areas. So the reason I've gone for 35 is we have that narrow and compact defense to block out those attacks through the middle, and we also still have decent coverage in the wider areas when we are defending. The width I would advise guys honestly is like 35 to 45, but this is what I'm using. Now for the depth, a few different options. There's no correct depth to use in this game. I do like to give you guys multiple options because if I just give you a random set of tactics and say use this, it might not work for everybody because little tweaks help for other people based on their playstyle. So one of these things is 100 depth. Now this is quite a new thing in this game in terms of people using it. What this does is it gives you a very high defensive line. You can see in that diagram in the bottom right, the back line's actually in front of the strikers on the opposition team. You can see that it's a very high defensive line, and you get the automatic press from the AI, so it's very high, and you also get auto press from the AI, so it's very automatic and very good for those players that struggle to manually defend. If this is too high for you in terms of the defensive line, keep an eye on the diagram. If we lower this to like 71, you still get that automatic press from the AI, and you know, mark every opponent player, but you have your defensive line a bit further back, so you know, it's just a bit more passive, if that makes sense. If you're like me and prefer a more manual defense, something like 65 or 60 is good, so you still have that high defensive line, you just have more control over when you press. So if you're a good defender, 60 to 65 is my personal preference. If this is still too high for you though, you can lower it even more. That's what I'm saying. Do what you need to. For the build-up play guys, balanced is an absolute must. It gives you the best control and fluidity when you're building up. You can basically combine all these different styles whenever you want, and the AI just seems to be better. All these individual settings seem to be trash, bar long ball, but again, you have to play a specific style to use that. So if you play a lot of long balls, by all means use it, but I think balanced is the best. Now for the chance creation guys, direct passing, the absolute must. It's the only way to break through those park the bus defenses in this game guys. This game, Cutback FC24, is because of direct passing. So because everybody's always bunched up in the box and it's very defensive, what happens with direct passing, guys, is your attackers do like a push forward, track back kind of movement up and against the defenders. So then it's basically to create space. It's like 1v1 isolation plays, and you just pass the ball across or cut it back and shoot. That's how this works. Very, very necessary, even if it is boring. Now for the attacking width, this one you have a lot more freedom with, in my opinion. The width I would suggest is from 40 to 60. That is the range. All you need to know is the lower the width, the more narrow, the higher the width, the wider it is. So pick what you want based on that knowledge and experiment with it. You know, there's nothing that is set and there's nothing that is 100% effective for everybody. Now for the players in the box, we have this on 7. I like this because you get a few players into that area without completely overcommitting, so you're not as vulnerable to counter-attacks. But again, adjust this if you like. And then for the corners and free kicks, I've been having this on 3, but do what you want with that too. Now, for the player instructions, guys, on the striker, stay central, get in behind. By far the most reliable instructions to have on your striker. Stay central keeps them in the middle. We don't need them going out into the wider areas. We have the wide forwards and also fullbacks, so we don't want them doing that. We want them in the middle where they should be. We also have them on getting behind to force runs out of them, because if your opponent is using something like 100 depth or 71 depth like we discussed, and you have this player on mixed attack, they don't move all that much. They're very static, and you have to force runs out of them with getting behind. So that is why I recommend that. For the left forward, it's exactly the same, guys. Stay central, getting behind. Stay central keeps them in those more narrow channels that are a bit more difficult for the defenders to mark, because you're in between like the fullback and that centre back. You're in that space. If you have them on balanced width, it becomes more of like a 4-3-3, which I don't like, because the forwards can drift out wider. I don't think you need to do that, so we keep them on stay central. For the right forward, guys, we have them on comeback and defence and get in behind. Now, the reason we have them on comeback and defence is because it makes it defend in that 4-4-2 shape. Why do we defend in a 4-4-2? Well, it's one of the best defensive shapes to use in this game. The reason being is because you have that back four, which is solid at defending the central areas with those two centre-backs, and also the wider areas with the left back and the right back. And you want to copy that to the midfield, so there's less space. So by putting this forward on comeback and defence, they'll come back to defend as a right midfielder in a 4-4-2 shape, which means you'll have really good coverage of those central areas when you're defending with those two centre mids, and also the wider areas with now a right mid and a left mid. So it makes you much more defensively solid just by doing this. We also have them on getting behind again to utilise their pace and make sure they get up and down the wing. I don't have them on stay central because they often come from that right mid spot, and I think it's a bit better to have them balanced. That's why I don't do that on this player. Now, for the right centre mid, guys, we have them on get into the box across and cover centre. That's what I've been doing. This is like the more box-to-box style player, so you want them to do a bit of everything. I don't keep them back. I let them kind of do what they want, but I did put get into the box across. If you want to make it balanced, crossing runs, that's fine, but I've been trying this and it's worked for me. Cover centre is very important to make sure that they defend as one of the two centre mids in that 4-4-2 shape. Now, for this middle centre mid, guys, the more defensive-minded player, stay back and cover centre. This is to bring balance to the team. We don't want every midfielder going forward, otherwise there's no balance. And if you get counter-attacked, you're screwed because there's no one there. So this player, the more defensive one, stay back. And then cover centre is very important, again, to make them defend as that other centre mid in that 4-4-2 shape. Now, for this left centre mid, guys, because I said it defends in a 4-4-2 shape, if you put this player on cover wing, they'll actually defend as a left midfielder, which means you can get away with using a more attacking-minded player here, because you don't have to worry as much about them defensively, because they'll be out in that left mid spot as opposed to a left centre mid spot, which is a bit more important to be present when you're defending. So we use an attacker here on cover wing, so it makes them defend as that left mid, and then get forward and get into the box across to make them act as an extra attacker. It works very, very well in this formation. So if you're confused, it defends in a 4-4-2 with the instructions we've got so far, and in my case, Bonmati is the left mid when we're defending, Rice the left centre mid, Bellingham right centre mid, and Saka right mid, with Crouch and Hemp being the two strikers. That's how this works. Now, moving on to the fullbacks, whichever one is your most attacking one, pop them on balanced overlap. This is because the 4-3-2-1 is a narrow formation. You can see that just by looking at it. So we need to get that extra width to stretch out the opponent's defence and make sure you're as unpredictable as possible. This has been one of England's problems in the Euros, to be honest with you. Everybody is always in the middle, very central, and if you're playing against a compact team, you're not going to get through because no one's being stretched and they're not being pulled out of position. which is why this fullback's very important, because if you have them on the overlap, you're pulling that defensive line apart, leaving space for the narrow players to actually go through. That's why it's effective, and that's why I recommend it. So whichever fullback is your most attacking one, balanced overlap. For the other one, the more defensive one, stay back and overlap. This is so you always have at least 3 defenders back at a time, but when you send them on that run forward, they'll make that overlapping run to add that extra width as well. For the 2 centre-backs, we leave them alone, and the keeper, we also leave them alone. So yeah, sorry for the longer video, guys. That's pretty much it. I just wanted to explain why we use certain things a bit more in depth, because some people get confused. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed or found it useful. Please be sure to drop it a thumbs up, sub to the channel if you're new, and don't forget to click that notification bell, guys. And yeah, with all that aside, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Hope you enjoy the Euros if you're watching it, or the Copa America or whatever. And yeah, I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace out, guys. Take care. Love you all lots.